it's it's a bit of a head scratcher because these are the same oils that we've been producing this way for decades and decades. They're heart healthy, they're high in unsaturated fats, they're made by American farmers, and they happen to be affordable. So it feels like we've got everything on our side, including the science, but there's some folks out there in the health influencer community who have decided they want to pick a fight with seed oils.
Now, I'm sure farmers are going to be very happy with you. So let's talk about soybeans first. Soybean processing is really going guns. There's a tremendous amount of new construction and crushing plants. Soybean oil has the greatest demand it's had for a long time. So that's got to be pretty good for the soybean economy.
I think it is, yes. I mean, NOPA members have invested over $6 billion to expand production capacity by over 25% since 2023 levels. And a lot of that was done to meet growing renewable diesel and biodiesel demand. But we also got food demand as well. About half of the oil that we produce goes into the food supply and about half goes into biofuel. So they're equally important markets. And as you mentioned, it's an increasingly valuable part of the soybean. It might only be 20% of the soybean, but it's over half of the value today. So if you think about a $10 bushel of soybeans, $5 of that is from the oil, half of which goes into food and half of which goes into biofuels.
And we're certainly seeing greater opportunities for soybean oil demand with biofuels, and that's going to mean probably higher value oil. Is that going to mean a better price for soybeans and more acreage for soybeans?
I don't want to predict the acreage. We process just over half of all the soybeans we grow today. Typically, we export the other half as whole soybeans. However, with the different trade spats, particularly with China, which takes about half of those exports, we could see more of those being processed here. But yes, ultimately, adding more value to them here will add more value at the farm gate.
Okay. How about corn? We've got a tremendous corn crop coming on here. The value is going down little by little because of the increased opportunities, but we've got to make some money somewhere.
Yes, we do. I mean, I'm not on the corn side of things anymore, but I mean, I recognize that a lot of the value driven there is through ethanol demand. That's still a growing industry, but still fighting to find its way to higher blends. We've kind of been stuck at 10% blend rate for too long. Need to get the E15 stuff done and need to get this RVO rule finalized, which locks in 15 billion gallons for ethanol. But importantly, on the biodiesel side, is setting a really aggressive target of an implied 5.61 billion gallons, which we think we can meet for 2026.
Now, is corn oil part of the formula for biofuels?
It is, yeah. Distiller's corn oil that comes off of a dry mill is one of the preferred feedstocks for producing renewable diesel and biodiesel. However, it's not available nearly as high quantities as soybean oil.
Okay, all right. What do we see as far as Washington, as far as what you would like to see and your colleagues lobbying for in Washington that would help the farmer? What do you, where do we need to go with policies that would help farmers?
Well, I'll start by saying this Congress and this administration has been very helpful to farmers so far. With their proposed RVO rule, it's an unprecedented level and something that is directly meant to benefit farmers. So getting that finalized would be a huge deal. They're aiming to have it finalized by October. So we're working hard on that. We got some big wins in the One Big Beautiful Bill, as it was called, that was signed into law on July 4th. That improved the 45Z clean fuel production credit, which is the biofuel tax credit that goes not only to biodiesel and renewable diesel, but also was expanded to ethanol and sustainable aviation fuel when it was created a few years ago. We got some important changes made in there. We had a lot of champions from farm country on Capitol Hill that went to bat for the soybean and the soybean processing industry to eliminate the indirect land use change penalty that our farmers are facing, and also include a ring fence of North American only feedstocks can qualify, because we've seen such an influx of imported quote unquote used cooking oil as well as tallow from other countries displacing our soybean oil for producing biodiesel and renewable diesel. What this tax policy does, coupled with the RVO, if they finalize it as it is, it puts soybean oil at the front of the line as the preferred feedstock.
Okay. Do you see at all Congress accepting any of Secretary Kennedy's dismissal of oil seeds as far as getting into the food supply particularly, or having an impact on health?
I think they're going to push back pretty aggressively if they start to make any policy recommendations that would impact agriculture. They hinted at it in their first report with calling out pesticides and calling out some of these safe and affordable food ingredients that our farmers produce. So I think as the MAHA Commission continues down this path of putting out policy recommendations early next month, I think you're going to see Congress pushing back pretty strongly.
I know corn growers and soybean certainly pushed back after that first report. Did NOPA, were you part of the dozens of farm organizations that did as well?
We did, yes. We were having meetings with the administration and with Capitol Hill before the report came out, but we had a hard time getting in the room with the folks who were writing it. And after they put out that report, they started calling in farm groups to come in and share our perspective, which was great that they're finally including us in the process. It's been a very open door administration. I think they do truly have farmers' best interests at heart. We just have to make sure we get them educated with the right science and the latest data on everything that we're doing.
And what is that you're hitting them with as far as that science and that data, and what are you responding to when they say, well, what do we need to put in this report?
Yeah, we're sharing the reams and reams of studies that show that vegetable oils, or seed oils as they like to call them, are heart healthy, they're affordable, they're made by U.S. farmers, and that we wouldn't have to, if we were to switch to something else, we'd be importing it from another country because it would likely be avocado oil or palm oil, things we just don't produce here. They would not only be more expensive for American consumers, but would also hurt U.S. farmers. And in some cases, some of the things they're recommending switching to, like deep frying French fries in tallow as opposed to soybean oil, could actually have negative health implications. So we're trying to share this all with them in a thoughtful way and make sure that they have all the resources for when they put out their next policy recommendations.